on a mission to help people live a life connected to their true heart's desires and authentic selves, and to help bring more love, peace, and harmony to all. Cassandra Ciarallo joins me from Toronto, Canada today on Awakened and Ascend. I'm Jennifer Regular, your host, and also known as the Soul Illuminator at Lighting the Path. So grateful you are all here and tuning in. Let me just tell you a little bit more about today's guest. Social entrepreneur turned embodiment coach, Cassandra is passionate about helping people create their most enchanted lives. She helps them reconnect to the self, reignite their passion and desires, and rewire their thoughts, feelings, and energy. She has transformed her relationship to self over the years using somatic and embodiment techniques from her studies of the art of presence to calm her nervous system and create the path that really lights her up. She now guides others to help them activate their most vibrant self and reconnect to their true heart's desires. We are going to delve into using your body to find your clarity. Welcome, Cassandra. It is so wonderful having you here today. I am excited.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Me too. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the word enchantment. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
takes me in
Don't
so
we
many
all?
places, and it just it
What
feels
does it
so,
make you feel?
it makes me feel magical,
Mm.
and vibrant. And there's like a calm energy. It's like an interconnectedness, connected to all kind of feeling, like the enchantment I feel when I'm out in the forest, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so I'm inspired by that word. I'm inspired to hear what lit your path? Like, how did you even get to this place?
Yeah. I mean, wow, I feel like that's a loaded question, but I'm gonna start with the end of like enchantment. And I love that you said that it's this feeling of interconnectivity for you, because that's really what I help people do, is kind of reconnect themselves to this source energy, or light, or nature, right? This interconnectivity that is always there for us, and to feel that we are supported. And that's what I love to do. And I think that my journey has continued to evolve for myself with learning more and more and more about how I can surrender and lean into this support, this universal support. Again, you can call it whatever you want: divine, Tao, love, right? It is just there for us to lean into and to surrender to. And I think that my journey previously as an entrepreneur, so this is my 9th year in entrepreneurship, and just continued. I think as an entrepreneur, you need to have faith before you know all the answers. And that faith, that like unknown that you're continuously stepping into, and full belief that you have to have in yourself. I think that was the continual unwinding path for me, is trusting and having faith in this enchantment. And and I feel like that really comes from, for me, the feeling in the body. And so this enchantment for me is really tied into embodiment, because it's like, if we don't feel that support from within, or if I didn't feel it, I couldn't trust the path. I couldn't move forward. And there were so many times, I fell down. And like, bringing yourself back up, especially as an entrepreneur, how can I do that? How can I continue to trust in that support despite the quote unquote failures? And so, yeah, I burnt myself out numerous times running my last business. And I woke up one day, on the third time it happened, I was like, there just has to be another way. Like, this can't be the way. This can't be it. I can't be living this life of, pushing and grinding um and I ended up years later working, well, this was right before COVID, finding my teacher who supported me in connecting to presence. I know you shared that in the bio, that I studied the art of feminine presence. And she it's non-gender though. She teaches feminine and masculine presence, but it's really just the energy within us. It's less about gender and more about the energy of the feminine and the masculine. And so the more I continue to cultivate this presence within myself, this sturdiness, this rootedness, I haven't burnt myself out since my last business, since that time. And I, yeah, I mean, I know that I get to the verge of feeling really tired and exhausted, but I know now in my body, I'm way more connected to how I feel. And when I'm closing in on, oh my gosh, this is making me really tired, it's like reevaluating and reconnecting. Like I told you right before this call, right? I woke up pretty tired this morning, and my past self would have probably just woken up and continued going, right? Gotta go, 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 go. Whereas this morning, I actually took the morning to have a slow morning. I went for a walk in nature. I felt like more rejuvenated by the earth. And like, to me, this is enchantment. It's listening. It's, not pushing so hard, honoring that there are times to move fast and move quickly and go, but there are also times to listen and go inward and take that time to nourish and rest. And so it's the balancing of the two constantly, which is the harmony that we can cultivate in the self. So yeah, I mean, my journey has been up and down and continues to be up and down. And I use these practices daily to really support myself and balance and calm my nervous system and really listen to what my body needs. So I hope that answers your question. There was a lot there.
It was beautiful to hear all
Mm.
of that. And a lot of people seek out balance and don't always understand the balance of the masculine and feminine energy, and
Mm.
finding the way to being grounded and centered and all connected in that space, rather than finding balance through like work and life, for example. It's trying to find a balance there. And I think we miss the mark when we do that, because how do you actually balance that out, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's constantly in this duality, in this separateness of work and life, where you're talking about the energy and what we're feeling and really being in touch with that, being in tune with that. And when we're not, to reconnect with
Mm.
those higher powers, right? With the greater picture, with that other kind of energy, for example, that nature can offer us, to tune back into our natural rhythms. And so I can
Mm-hmm.
see how that would inspire you and keep you connected. And really is an art of presence, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Yeah. Life is art.
Life is
Um,
art. Yeah. And you also mentioned about the nervous system, which I think
mhm,
is really, really important, especially in today's world where there's so much stimulation and demands and expectations of like responding to everything right away and responding quickly. Like
mhm,
there's just this frenetic, frantic kind of energy, and that can really obscure our vision, our clarity, our thoughts, our mind, our bodies. I mean, it can throw us off track so easily and get us out of alignment. And so you're talking too about wanting to find clarity within the body. And I hear
mhm,
people often asking for clarity and peace and, just knowing something. And then you're talking about having faith and just trusting in the process. But I do want to
mm,
delve a little bit more into that clarity that we tend to seek and want, and what can get in the way of that, and how we can actually find it in the body and not necessarily just in our mind.
mhm. Yeah, that's a great question. And I feel like it's my continual exploration too, because I think I was always trying to figure things out with the mind. And that's kind of what we do, especially in the world we're living in now, right? As you said, there's so much going on. There's a lot of chaos or frenetic energy, and our attention is constantly in so many places. Um, and so I think it makes it easier to try and figure everything out with the mind versus knowing how to calm the system and come back into the body. And all the things you touched on, like the balance, the calming the nervous system, those kind of touch into finding the clarity. But what that looks like is, for somebody who is watching this and saying, well, yeah, I feel chaotic all the time. And I don't give myself any time to sort of rest or do anything for me. Even if you're taking 1 or 2 minutes, right, in a chaotic day to maybe separate from your desk or whatever you're doing, and just taking some deep breaths. We can do it together now. And feel your feet on the ground. Feel your hands touching, where they're laying, wherever you have them placed. Feel your seat on your chair. And so it starts with the continual practice in just any small moment to really move from the head into the body. And every moment, even if you think, oh, this isn't doing anything, trust me when I say it is. Every moment matters. When you take a few-minute break and go outside and get fresh air, or you give yourself time and space to go into nature, like both of us said this morning, and how I shared, all of that really matters in calming the nervous system. Breath is the quickest way to bring ourselves into presence. And the more we can create a new pattern of not following what the mind says, of probably telling you there is no time to take a break right now, and no, you can't leave your desk and you got to stay here. I used to work all throughout the day, never, like, I would eat my lunch at my desk. I would never even take a lunch break. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I do that to myself? And we continue to grow and evolve. But those small moments, like, start there. If you're watching this saying, that's me. So it starts with giving yourself a little bit of space to breathe and to drop into the body. That will support calming the nervous system, starting to rewire and rechange patterns. So simple with the breath, right? Then we're refocusing the energy, and we're not thinking so much with the mind. And then over time, a lot of the work that I do with my clients around embodiment is really helping them find their yes and their no, really helping them connect to their heart and lead with the heart, and continue to move out of just the head leading, right? It's not that the head is not good. It's, of course, the logical mind, we need it. But when it's leading all the time, they're often, and I see this with my clients, is that there's a disconnect. People say they want something, but then there's tension and resistance in the body, and it's not actually what they want. Maybe they're listening to people on the outside telling them, maybe they're thinking what they should want, right? And when we can drop into the body, there's actually usually this space of energy and life force that arises when we really get to the juice of, like, what their heart really wants and what their soul is seeking, versus, oh, I want this because blah 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 blah, or I should do this because XYZ, right? And it's those moments that I believe is, why we're here. Like, we're here to keep following our heart. We're here to keep igniting that energy. And I believe that is enchantment. And so it kind of touches on all the things. It touches on balancing the body, moving from the head to the body, that continual dance that we're always playing in, and then calming the nervous system, coming into the body, and, and then finding clarity. Again, it's something that is a practice thing, but in simple terms, when you ask yourself, is this what I want? Usually, and you tune into the body, right? Taking a few moments, usually an expansion is happening when it's something that we really want, and usually a contraction is happening when it's not. And that discernment of the feeling is something that you'll get better at understanding within the body. But usually if it's a no for you, like, there will be tension and tightness that might arise in some area of your body. Could be the same area that gets tension or tightness. Like one of my clients, it was always her throat when it was a no, like it was always just such tightness in her throat. And, sometimes we're like, I don't know, should I do this or should I do that? And it's like, oh, well, let's just drop into the body and find out. So, yeah, I'm sure you have like lots to say on what I just said, because I went again in many different directions, but I hope that gives the people watching a little bit of clarity on how to do that in simple terms. How does that land for you? Is that like, do you use that process, or is this like, did I clarify that? Did I
You
explain
said
it
clear.
well?
Let me
Yeah.
check into my body and see.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I love
I
that. I
love
love
that.
that refocusing, as you said, and tuning into what's actually happening, what's happening in our body, not so much just in the screen or treating our bodies like machines, but actually being with
Right.
the sensations, how we're feeling. You talked about earlier noticing when you're really tired and having to go out
Hmm.
and refresh. So noticing those times when that you're tired or skipping meals or not being able
Hmm.
to take your breath, not being able to come back to your breath rather than just spinning with your thoughts and having that connection come back within and noticing whether you're hungry, whether you need to go and take a
Right.
walk and stretch, whether you need to see some natural light, not just the screen light all the time. Like noticing what your body needs and tending to that. And when we create
Hmm.
space to do that, then it only makes sense that the clarity will come because it has some room where we can integrate and process and allow inspiration to come in. And I love that we can get there as simply as bringing our awareness back to the breath and starting
Hmm.
there. And
Hmm.
so I really appreciate everything that you just shared. And you can hear how calm you are as you talk about it, even.
Hmm.
There's that centeredness, that peacefulness. So, incorporating this way of thinking and being into your daily life can have that effect, where you're showing up in your best light, but it doesn't mean that you're, hyper and go, 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 and being the best of the best. It just means that you can really be grounded with who you are. And no matter what you're feeling, whether you're feeling sad or angry or tired, then you're showing up fully with that as well.
Yeah.
That also gives us clarity around what we're actually feeling, what our emotions are flowing with today or in that
Hmm.
moment. So I think all of that brings clarity. And I like the idea too of finding it in the body and not just in how we think about it, wanting to find, clarity using our mind only.
Right.
That there's so much information that's available to us in the body.
Absolutely. And like you said, using that as information to guide what action you might take, right? Like when you take that breath and when you tune in and when you say, oh, I'm actually feeling angry, right? Or I'm actually feeling sad, then there's something you can maybe do to sort of soothe that part, right? Maybe you need to um, write something to somebody, like write a letter, or you need to hit some sticks at a tree in the woods, like, right, or punch your pillow. Like there might be some inclination to release that energy or transform that energy once there's an understanding of what's there. um yeah.
And you talk too about the contraction and the expansion that can
Hmm.
happen as a yes or a no, or what that person felt in their throat, like the different
Hmm.
energy centers we have in their body also can be very helpful in discerning what's in our best interest and what might not be, what direction we might want to
Yeah.
go, or
Hmm.
whether it's best to stay where we are. Like there's a lot of decisions that can be made that way. I also know people that even use their body as a pendulum, learning what your
Hmm.
yes is and what your no is, and then tuning into that, asking yourself, you know,
Yeah,
is
I
it
do
okay for
that.
me to eat this cheeseburger today? I mean, it can
Hmm.
start with, eating habits or something
How
that
does
you want
this
to
feel
buy,
for
or if
me?
you're thinking about moving or changing career or something in the relationship, like you can start with different ways of learning what your yes is and what your no is and finding clarity that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's something I use quite often. But I would say that, because you gave the example about should I move here or not. Um, it's going to be much harder to tune in and get your answer. And, if it's the pendulum or whatever answer is coming to you, if it's in a state of like anxiety and overwhelm. Right. So that's why what we said first about like balancing the system or calming the nervous system so that you're not in a state of chaos, because asking in that state isn't really going to give a clear answer because your body's already probably in contraction. Um, so so I would say the practice for those listening is first to calm the system, right? Practicing the breath first. When you notice that you're overwhelmed, it's not a good time to sort of ask these big, intense questions.
Hmm.
And that's from my own exploration too. Like I had times when I was, having a really rough time and trying to come to the body to ask these big life questions, and it felt like I wasn't it wasn't clear. I never knew. It was almost like there's too much anxiety and chaos, or what's the word, like too much agitation in the system to know what the true answer is there. So yeah, focus on calming the system first and then asking the question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so calming the system's a really great way then to neutralize that
Mhm.
agitation. So
Yeah, or balancing.
yeah. And so besides tuning into our breath, what are some ways that we can do that and take those first steps into calming our system and finding that groundedness, I guess, or neutralizing the agitation?
Yeah. I think again, it's like noticing what you're feeling. So if you're feeling anxiety, asking like, what do I need in this moment? Um, and not resisting the anxiety. Because a lot of the times we turn, like the pattern may be to numb. Oh, I feel bad and I don't know what I really feel, but I'll numb and like, let's just distract and watch TV. Right. But taking that moment to breathe and connect to the body, and maybe whatever part of your body might feel the tension or tightness, or wherever you're feeling that discomfort, can you just give yourself a moment to notice what's going on? Um, so I actually have this process it's the NET process, NET, notice. So that's the first one. Notice whatever is arising in the body and embrace it. And so this is where you take a moment and like breathe with it, and you ask yourself, what do I need right now? Right. As you embrace it. And it's almost like you're talking to your friend, right? Imagining that feeling or that tension or tightness, or if it's anger, can you befriend it and embrace it and connect with it, right? Because usually, again, there's resistance and we don't want to face it. And then the transformation is the T. So when you can embrace it and ask what it needs, usually there's information around what you can do to move or shift the energy. So again, it can be if you're feeling lots of anxiety, maybe you need some fresh air and you need just space away from your work for a little bit. Or yeah, to take a walk and be in nature. Maybe you need to phone a friend if you're feeling lonely and sad and you need connection with somebody. Maybe maybe again there's anger and you need to release the anger and have a conversation with somebody, but not like an angry conversation, but that part wants to be heard. Like there's all of these emotions inside of us that can lead to more and more tension in the body if they don't get seen, if they don't get heard, if they don't get acknowledged. And just like we want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged, so do all of the parts of us. And so when we notice them and embrace them, sometimes they even transform on their own without even needing to do something. And we can actually notice, wow, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety right now. Okay. To calm, I'm just going to breathe for a little bit. And maybe, that's an opportunity to transform, but it's going to look different for every person, and every moment is going to look different. So the intention here is really to connect inwards and ask what you need in the moment. And that acknowledgement really goes a long way with helping the energy transform. And as we transform the energy, this balances and calms the system usually, because that part isn't so agitated or yeah, it's like a continual cycle, right? There's all of these emotions that want to be seen, and it's energy in motion. So when they're seen, when they're embraced, then they have a really good opportunity to shift on their own. Like just one example that I'll give is I was having like a lot of, there was this one particular time that I was having a lot of discomfort inside of me in my stomach, solar plexus, and I was kind of resisting it for, maybe it was like a day or two. And then I'm like, okay, I need to address this. Went inside, wanted to, I was open-hearted and just connected with it. And oftentimes we'll have to ask multiple times, right? Like, how am I feeling? What is present? How am I feeling? What is present? And that comes with practice and practice. And so I think it was a second time or third time that I asked. And what arose was that I was actually feeling really empty. That was the feeling. And I didn't know. And it was so interesting for me but it was like as soon as I identified it, Jennifer, it was like, and it was because and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling empty. Right. And then it was like there was so much understanding around why I was feeling empty because of what had happened in my life the days prior. And like that's the thing, when we connect with our body and we listen, there's usually an understanding there, and that feeling was seen. It was like you're feeling me, you're witnessing me now. And I acknowledged it, and it just moved on its own. It was like after that I felt so much lighter, and I think I had never acknowledged that part. Like it was just so used to being me pushing it down, distracting. And so yeah, it can come in many different ways, but the system calms down when we acknowledge the things inside of us that need attention.
Yes, yes. And it's so important to be able to express that and have an emotional
Mm,
outlet. And that acknowledgement makes a world of difference,
right? Mhm.
cultivating that awareness. Absolutely. And I love the idea of using a net, right? To notice,
Mm,
embrace, and transform it. And yeah, just that
mm.
acknowledgement, just allowing it to come and dissolve on its own. It's like our emotions can be like a child, that's like
They
screaming for
are.
our attention. We're like trying to let it be quiet and suppress it and like not now. But when it's released, there's a relief as well.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because yeah, with a lot of my clients, we actually do some work sometimes with, if the part really needs that, if it's something that's arising many times and feels like really challenging, but we do an exercise to kind of go in and meet that emotion. And it's almost like it is an inner child, right? It's our inner wounded self. Like that part carries woundedness from probably the first time we ever had that happen to us. And so for me, it's less about needing to know where it comes from and more about just soothing that inner child so that we can move forward. Because if they feel acknowledged, or if that part feels acknowledged, right, then um then they'll have more fun, like coming with us to move on with the things we need to do. So again, it depends sort of the scenario and what client I'm working with, but the inner children, I love that you said that, because we have this inner child that wants to be seen, and it's exactly that. It's exactly that. Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe to approach it with curiosity.
Yes.
It's like, what's going on here? We might not always know what we're feeling or how to even label it or identify it. We can discern whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or a neutral feeling. So
Yeah.
that's one way to start. And having the courage to do that, having the courage to feel what you're feeling, and then
Yeah.
having compassion around feeling that way if it's not so pleasant, right? So
Yeah.
it's really helpful. I love how you're weaving in ways that you've been working with people over the years and what you've seen and what you noticed. And I'd like to hear a little bit more about that. And I'm sure all our listeners and viewers would too, and how you work with people and how they can connect with you. And I know that you even have a special offer for everyone tuning in too. So tell us about that.
Sure. Yeah. So I currently work with clients one-on-one, and I also have a 5-week group program, which is a beautiful container. Um, I'm working with women now for now in this 5-week program, and it's a beautiful container of women who are looking for that support to meet other like-minded women and also really reconnect with their body. So this is all the foundational embodiment tools and practices that will support you in clarifying what your body is saying and really tuning in to that support that you have within you. Um, and then, yeah, my one-on-ones look very different based on what the client needs, but it's really helping people focus in on what they really want to create and what their most enchanted life would look like, and kind of help them move towards that using the body as well. Of course, I'm always using the body, but it can look very different, and it's super awesome. I love both, group and one-on-one. I feel like this work is so nourishing for me, and it's amazing to see women just transforming week by week by week with these tools. And I feel like that was my journey too. So it's like so amazing to be of service and to just share more of this with the world. So thank you. And yeah, if anybody's interested in connecting with me and learning more, feel free to go to enchantedchat.com, and you can book a complimentary 30-minute session with me and learn a little bit more about where you're at and where you want to go, and if I'm the one that can help you get there. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. And everyone, we're going to have those links just in the video description here, so you can click right into that. Cassandra, this has been so enchanting and lovely.
Yeah.
I just love your presence too. So it's really been a joy having you here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love these conversations with you, Jennifer. I also love your energy. And yeah, this was so much fun. And
Thank you.
one more thing, yeah, if any of you want to connect with me, you can also, I'm quite active on Instagram, so you can follow me at Coaching with Cass, or also access my website there too, coachingwithcass.com. So thank
Perfect.
you
Yeah,
again,
thank
Jennifer.
you. Yeah, we'll definitely have all those links in the show notes there. I love the question you asked too about what would my enchanted life look like? And I'm
Mm,
curious, give us a comment about what your enchanted life would look like. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a like if you
mm.
did enjoy this video and this interview, and so we can spread the love everywhere. We love to be of service to you all. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.